The Irish media are vastly underestimating the numbers attending water protests.
Over 100,000 protesters take to the streets on nationwide day of action over water charges.
I did some research into the subject and I discovered that once the correct information is available, once the length of the march and the width of the march is established, the numbers can then be calculated accurately. The BBC article applies a rule of thumb, which is that 3 people per square metre is comfortable and 4 is like a rock concert. The next clip was filmed in O'Connell Street on November 1st. O'Connell Street in Dublin is 500 metres long by 45 metres wide. That is an area of 22,500 square metres. Even allowing for the fact that there were not as many people on the northern end, if you reduce the BBC rule of thumb from 3 people per square metre to just 2 people per square metre, there were 45,000 people in O'Connell Street.
We had around 10,000 people attending a rally in O'Connell Street.
I measured the length of the route which was taken by the Waterford March on November 1st. This is the march as it passed along the quays from where it turned right at the clock tower and up into the city centre. And as you can see here, the crowd becomes much more tightly packed and also the march becomes much wider. Now this continued the whole way through the city centre, and again you can see how tightly packed the crowd are here. And this is the final section of the march on its way down Parnell Street to the Bishop's Palace. I sought information from others who had attended as to where was the front and where was the back at various points during the march. Based on the information I received, I was able to calculate the exact length of the march. By using the same rule of thumb as I did for O'Connell Street, that is 2 people per square metre, I was able to establish that there were 23,500 people on the streets of Waterford on November 1st.
Grey skies and heavy rain, more than 5,000 protesters took to the streets of Waterford City.
So based on my calculations, between Waterford and Dublin, just 2 places, there were nearly 80,000 people on the streets. Yet the media insult us by telling us that there were 100,000 people on the streets last Saturday at over 100 protests throughout this country, including Cork, Galway, Limerick and all of the other towns and villages. Please calculate the length and the width of the marches in your area from this point on. With this information coupled with videos and photos, we can expose yet another big lie for what it is,